It's time for the Money Puzzle Podcast, with good conversations and realistic solutions to the money puzzles we all face every day. I'm your host, financial advisor, chartered financial consultant, and president of Edgen Insurance and Financial, Robert Edgen. Now let's get this show started. Hi there, hello, and welcome to the Money Puzzle Podcast. I am Robert Edgen, and I'll be your guide for the ride for the next few minutes. Each week, we look at a different piece of the money puzzle and practical ways to solve it so you can have the financial confidence you deserve and the future that you dream of. Now, today is episode number 13, and today we are following up on the conversation that we started a few weeks ago about earning more versus spending less. Which is the better way to get ahead financially? Now, 2 weeks ago, we talked about spending less is better if you're in a financial crisis or in need of some immediate, very fast-acting money fixes, because spending less is immediate. But there's only so much cutting that you can do. There's only so many things you can stop paying for. So we also talked about earning more being better for the long-term, big picture multiplier of your finances. And we talked about there really only being 4 different ways to earn more, but is it really even worth it? That's what we're going to talk about today, and I am excited to get into that conversation. But before we do get into our hot topic for today, I do a lot of reading and research, and I come across some financial headlines and news articles that catch my eye. So I thought we would take a minute and look at some news. Today's news comes from Yahoo Finance, and the headline reads, 3 sought in $450,000 colonoscopy instruments theft at hospital. Police say 2 men and a woman broke into a Philadelphia area hospital and stole nearly $500,000 worth of colonoscopes. Authorities say the trio had access to a secured area of Lankenau Medical Center in Winewood. They walked out of the hospital with several colonoscopes, which the police say can be sold on the black market. Oh my gosh, I really, what kind of black market do these 3 people know about where you can sell $500,000 of colonoscopy instruments? Is that something that you'd like Google search online? And who the heck is buying these black market instruments? I have decided I am not smart enough to be a criminal. I had no idea that you could sell colonoscopes or colonoscopy instruments to someone on the black market. And then what happens? Is there like this whole group of fake colonoscopies going on out there? Here's the deal. If someone pulls up to you at the grocery store when you're loading your groceries in the parking lot, they open the door to the van and they offer to give you a discount colonoscopy, just say no. Even if they show you their fancy new equipment, which they probably bought on the black market, just say no. You can obviously steal anything and sell everything on the black market. But I would not suggest that you do that as your side hustle or side gig or way to earn money. I'm not sure how long you can keep that career up. That's it for the news. If you want to read that full article, I've got the link in today's show notes. But for now, let's go ahead and get into today's hot topic. All right, so there are basically 4 ways that I can think of that you can earn more money. You can ask for a raise or a promotion. You can get some kind of side hustle or side gig, something that pays you some extra money on the side. You can start a business. That's the 3rd way. Or you can adjust your withholdings from your paycheck, and that's the 4th way. Today, I thought we'd start off by talking about side hustles or side gigs. Now, when I was 19 years old, I opened up my first insurance agency. It was for Allstate. And for a short time, I was actually the youngest Allstate agent in the country. My agency paid all of my bills, barely. And my wife also helped work so that we could pay our bills. But then on the side, I also owned a little magic shop. I had a kiosk in one of our local malls. It was called Hocus Pocus, and I wore a name tag that said Robert Edgin, Master Illusionist, which I was not. I actually paid someone to run the shop during the day, and then on nights and weekends, I was there selling magic tricks for extra money. Now, I wasn't working on the side to pay my bills. My agency did that. I was working on the side to get ahead. At the time, my wife and I were living in this really crappy little apartment, and we wanted to buy our first house. So my side hustle was going to help provide the money for the down payment of that house. Now, a few years later, after my agency was more established and my wife and I and now our daughter were living in our new house instead of that crappy apartment, my agency was still paying all of my bills and we were living a better life, but I was going out at night and selling vacuums. That's right. I was a vacuum salesman. Now, the vacuum sales were for extra money. We were paying our bills with our jobs, but we weren't getting ahead. We weren't creating any wealth. So selling vacuums allowed me to earn some extra money to pay off some debts that we wanted to get rid of, and then also accelerate our wealth, start investing it. Years later, after I'd been in the financial industry for about 12 years, I started a little side business selling these little rubber thumb bands that said things like texting kills and don't text and drive. We called them texting thumb bands, and we actually sold millions and millions of them online. You can still Google texting thumb bands and find all of our websites. My dad eventually got involved and he helped run it because I was working on my financial planning practice during the day. But we were selling these little thumb bands. They literally just went around your thumb and reminded teenagers and young drivers not to text and drive because they were prone to do that. But we were selling them online and through the mail. I wasn't selling them to pay my bills. My job did that just fine. We lived a great life. Now my wife and I and our 2 kids at this point, a bigger house we'd moved into, vacations we were taking those. My side hustle wasn't for that. My side hustle was to help me buy some rental properties, which it did. It helped me pay for 2 rental properties and do some really cool things on the side, like take my dad and my son on a week-long rafting trip through the Grand Canyon. Now, years later, even today, when I've got 9 people on my team running the financial planning practice in the insurance agency, and I've got a great office that pays all of our bills, I am also a co-owner of a real estate company. Now, I don't have a real estate license. I don't buy or sell houses. I don't know anything about real estate contracts. But I do have 3 partners who are realtors who do and know all of those things. But I have a very particular set of skills when it comes to finance, so I can work a few hours a week on the books and the financial projections and the financial side of the business, the things that I'm good at, while other people run the business, and people like my partners and others still the realtors, they can go out and sell the houses. My side hustle is hopefully, if done right and used right, going to accelerate my retirement. It's going to speed up me putting together the pieces of my money puzzle so that I can do more and retire sooner. I'm using my side hustle to create more wealth, and that's why you should consider a side hustle or a side gig too. A side hustle is not what you do to pay your bills. It's something extra that you do to accelerate your wealth. It helps you put together all of the pieces of your money puzzle faster. So it might be a part-time job on the side or a speaking gig or selling things online, but it's for the extra earnings. It's the above and beyond money that you don't have to use to pay your bills so that you can use it to build the future that you dream of. If you need to work overtime or go get a second job or do those things or, to pay your normal bills, then you're living beyond your means. That's a whole nother conversation, and that needs to be adjusted. But there are 6 reasons that I can think of to get a side hustle depending on your age and your financial situation and where you're at in your life. So let's break them down real quick. First, you may find yourself in some kind of debt situation that you don't want to be in. You might not even know how you got into all of the debt, but you know that it doesn't feel good and you need to get out of it. Doing something on the side and earning an extra $500 each month and using it to pay down your debts like credit cards or student loans or car payments will accelerate your wealth, because most debt is an enemy of wealth. Second, maybe you've got some big financial goal that you're trying to accomplish. Maybe you want to move out of that crappy apartment into a nice home for your family. Maybe you want to take your family on that 2-week trip to Maui or a tour of Italy or do something on your bucket list. Maybe you want to buy rental properties. Whatever it is, your job pays you enough to pay your bills, and that's great. It allows you to save some money. That's awesome. But something on the side could help you accomplish your big goals, sometimes years faster. Third, maybe you want to accelerate your retirement date or build some passive income streams. You want to create more wealth. Maybe you want to own that rental property. Maybe you want to retire 5 years earlier. It just makes sense that getting more money in play and working for you will accelerate your goals. You can do that by earning some extra through a side gig or a side hustle. Fourth, maybe you're getting close to retirement and you hate your job. You've been doing it forever. You just want to spend more time with the grandkids or travel or whatever the heck it is that you dream of. A side hustle can help you have a semi-retirement. Now, I've got these clients, and we're going to call them John and Jane. Jane is actually a few years older than John and already retired. They did a great job of saving, paying down debt, and doing all of the things that need to be done before you retire. But based on what they want to do in retirement, we had calculated that John would have to work for about 3 more years unless we could get a little bit creative. Now, John has a pretty cool set of skills that he's acquired over his years of working in employment. So we looked at the numbers and the money puzzle that John and Jane were trying to put together. And instead of working full-time for 3 more years, if John would just get a little side hustle or side gig and earn just $1,000 a month, he could actually retire within 6 months from the job that he didn't care for and travel with Jane, which is what he really wanted to do. Now, this side gig, he would have to do it for 5 more years instead of 3, but he could do it online. He could do it from anywhere that they happened to be when they were traveling. So it was a personal choice that I know doesn't work for everyone, but for John, he would much rather spend 10 hours a week for 5 years doing something that he enjoys on the side than spend 40 hours a week for 3 years doing something he didn't care for. It's a lifestyle choice that they made, and they couldn't be happier about it. The fifth reason is actually kind of a hidden reason to get a side hustle, and it's for the tax benefits. Now, I know what you might be thinking. What the heck? You can actually get tax benefits from earning more money? Absolutely. Here's the deal. If you're a W-2 employee for somebody right now, you're pretty limited on your tax deductions. If you're married, you're probably using your standard deduction. That's to lower your the taxes that you owe, but that's probably about all that you are getting to use to lower your taxes. Now, we'll talk about deductions in a different podcast, but basically that's what the IRS allows you to use to lower what they consider to be your income for tax purposes. So if you've got a little side hustle, it might work out to provide you some pretty big tax breaks. If you've got an office in your house and now you start using it for your side gig, you can get a deduction on a part of your taxes for a piece of the mortgage or rent that's going towards that home office. If you start using your car for your side hustle, you might be able to write off some of the car payment or maybe get a deduction for the miles that you drive. If your hobby is, let's say, collecting dinosaur bones, and now you start selling some of these bones online, the cost that you have in collecting the bones and spending the time doing that hobby could now maybe turn into a deduction for you. So now you're not paying for that hotel room in the middle of Africa for your bone collecting hobby. Now you're possibly deducting that hotel stay and maybe some of the flights as well as a cost of collecting those bones so that you can sell them in your online dinosaur bone store. Now, In all fairness, I have no idea if you go to Africa to collect bones. That was just a point, or just a guess, but you get the point, which is when you have some kind of business hustle on the side, it gives you the opportunity to deduct things on your taxes that you cannot deduct if all you have are W-2 earnings. So that's reason number 5. Finally, we've got reason number 6. So I was meeting with a retired client just this past week he's been retired for a number of years, and he has enough money to live the life that he wants. But he just told me that he's getting ready to go back to work for about 12 hours a week, 3 days a week, a few hours a day. I asked him if we needed to adjust what he was withdrawing from his retirement accounts. He said, no, I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it because I need a purpose. I need to get out of the house. I need to meet some people, have some interaction and some relationships. The extra money, sure, that's going to be nice, but to this particular client, an extra $1,000 a month isn't going to change his life one way or another. And my guess is that we're going to end up taking that money and just adding it back into his investment account because he doesn't really need it. But what he does need is to keep his sanity and to keep himself busy. And a side hustle works great for that if you're already in retirement. So there you have it, 6 reasons to earn more through side hustles and, different ways that you can use that extra money to further your future wealth, to get your money puzzle put together faster. So now that we've done the learning, it's time to put it into practice and do some extra earning. What kind of side hustle do you have or could you do? If you don't have one yet, think of ways that you could earn that extra $500 or $1,000 a month on the side. We're actually going to look at some different ways that some of our own clients are doing that over the next few weeks when we talk about the other 3 ways to increase your take-home pay. But now it's your turn. Learning what to do will make you wise, but only doing what you learn will make you wealthy. So I'd love to hear about what kind of side hustle you come up with and the earnings that you generate. All right, that's it for today's show. I hope that it helped. I hope that you got some value out of it. If you did, please don't keep us a secret. Share the show with your friends, your family. Send them to the podcast. Send them to the website, yourmoneypuzzle.com. You can also watch us online, by the way. Everything that you're hearing, you can actually see on our Money Puzzle YouTube channel, but you can find all of that information on our website. Also, please go rate us, whatever podcast app you're listening to. Give us some stars, write a review. We appreciate that. And if you've got a question about your own money puzzle, email it on over to questions@yourmoneypuzzle.com. We'll make sure that we get them answered. Until next week, be safe, have a little bit of fun, and go out and do something to improve your money puzzle. You'll be glad you did, and I'll talk to you real soon.
Registered representative of and securities offered through Securities Management and Research, Inc., SM&R. Member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through BFC Planning, Inc. Edgen Insurance and Financial Services, Johnson Financial Services, SM&R, American National Family of Companies, and BFC Planning are independent entities. There are risks involved with investing which may include market fluctuation and possible loss of principal value. Particular investments may not be suitable for certain situations. Carefully consider the risks and possible consequences involved prior to making an investment decision. Our firm does not provide legal or tax advice. Be sure to consult with your own legal and tax advisors before taking any action that may have tax implications.